So this is lesson 5, solving problems by finding equivalent ratios. And this is the exit ticket, again, example, because we are not going to be using the same numbers as the actual exit ticket. So it's just an example, and I'm going to change those numbers right now. Okay, now that the values are changed, we actually have right here, these are now different. We can go ahead and read this, so read along with me. When Carla looked out at the school parking lot, she noticed that for every 3 minivans, there were 7 other types of vehicles. If there are 100 vehicles in the parking lot, how many of them are not minivans? So one of the things that we want to do first is we want to kind of look at the quantities or the amounts that we have, the numbers that we have, such as we have 3, 7, and then 100. So this is the ratio 3 to 7. So we can actually go ahead and do what we've done in the past, which is to kind of circle the or underline the amount and the description. So we'll have 2 different ones here. We got blue, and then we have red, okay? Blue and red, and then we have the amounts there. We have 3 minivans for every 7 other types of vehicles. And so we can write that as minivans to other types of vehicles. And we can just put O for other. So now we got the ratio of M to O, and now we can plug in the numbers that are provided to us. So we have a 3 to 7 ratio of minivans, okay, to other vehicles or things that are not minivans. Now, the deal is here is they're actually wanting you to figure out if there is 100 vehicles, okay? So now we're talking about 100 vehicles. 100 vehicles, that means both minivans and, okay, and the other types of vehicles. So this number here is actually the total amount of vehicles in the parking lot when Carla is looking out into the parking lot, okay, out at the school parking lot. So there's a total of 100 vehicles. And right here, we don't have the total. We can get the total by adding both parts together. But right now, we just have the minivans and the other types of vehicles. So what we have to do is add them together, and we're going to do that now. So we're going to go ahead to get the total, because what we want is we want to see what is the total number of vehicles, total vehicles in the parking lot, in the school parking lot. And so what we got to do is we got to add up the amount of vehicles that there are. And there are 3 minivans and 7 other types of vehicles. So we can actually add 3 plus 7, 3 minivans plus 7 other vehicles equals 10 total vehicles. So now we have our 10 total vehicles, and we're going to need that because they're going to give us the total number of vehicles. So they're going to say if there was 100 total vehicles in the parking lot, given they're at the same sort of ratio here, how many of them would not be minivans? So how many would be other types of vehicles? So how many would be the red? So we're going to take the total here, and we're going to say, okay, let's build our tape diagram. And we'll, on one side, say other types of vehicles. Other types of vehicles. And then our new side is going to be total amount of vehicles. So we know that by looking back over here and at our ratio that other vehicles is equal to 7 when the total amount of vehicles is equal to 10. So we can go ahead and put 7, okay, and we got that number, in case you're wondering, from this, other types of vehicles. Okay, it's already told us. We didn't guess it. We're not solving. It has told us. Then we have to put the total number of vehicles in, and that is 10. And just to remind you, we got that number by adding the amount of minivans and the amount of other vehicles that there were in the parking lot. We added those two quantities together, those two amounts together here, and we got 10 total vehicles. So this is fine. This is correct, and we know it is because we were given that information up here. They provided us with that. Now, the next thing, the bit of information that they provide us with is 100 total vehicles. So we know that we can take that 100 total vehicles and plug it in below. We have not been given how many other vehicles there are because that's the question. If there are 100 vehicles, how many of them are not minivans? And we really got to make sure that we understand that it's asking not minivans. Okay? So make sure that you're saying not or understanding that it's not minivans. So now that we have everything like this, we can go ahead and solve the way that we usually do, because this is just, again, another equivalent ratio table. It's nothing more than an equivalent ratio table, and it is missing one side. And so we just have to solve for that side, and we can do it the same way that we always do. So if we are saying, hey, what did we need to do to get from 10 to 100? All we needed to do to get from 10 to 100 was times 10 by 10. So what we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. And so we times 7 by 10, and that gives us 70. So if there are a total number of vehicles equaling 100, then based on this original ratio that was given to us, 70 of those 100 vehicles would be other vehicles, not minivans. Which means that if we were going to do an equivalent ratio table for minivans, and we said minivans to total, and we looked and we plugged in the same thing here. We said, okay, 3 minivans, and we know the total number of vehicles is 10. That increased to 100. So whatever we do to one side, we had to multiply 10 by 10 to get 100 here. So we have to multiply 3 by 10, because what we do to one side, we have to do to the other, and we get 30. And the way that we can tell if this is 100% correct is we can take this part here and add it with this part here, and it should equal 100. It should equal the total amount of vehicles, just like when we added these two together, it equaled the total amount of vehicles. So let's try adding 70 plus 30. And that does indeed equal our total, which is 100. Now let's take a look at how this works with a tape diagram. So the tape diagram is going to look the same exact way as it has before in the past. So we're going to make 3 different tapes though, because we're dealing with other types of vehicles. We are also dealing with minivans, and we are also dealing with total amount of vehicles. And we've actually already used an abbreviations for those, and so we're going to continue to use those. So I'm going to take care of this real quick. So we have OMT to represent our other vehicles, our minivans, and then our total number of vehicles in the parking lot. So we'll do, this is a 7 square tape, and so we'll do 6 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That should give us 7 boxes. This is a 3-box square. And then this last one is a 10-box square because it's literally 3 plus 7 is going to give us our total amount of vehicles. So then this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This matches 10. So, just really quickly, as of now, this matches up 7. We got that number from here. We wrote it down over here. 3, got that number from here, brought it over here, putting it right here. And then 10, right? And we got that number here by adding the different vehicles together. 3 minivans, 7 other types. 3 plus 7 equals 10 total. So we got these tape diagrams looking good. But now it's saying that if there's 100 vehicles, we need to know how many are not minivans. So how many should be in each one of these squares if this is equal to 100. So if this whole thing is equal to 100 now, okay, how much needs to be in each box? Well, you can kind of see a really close connection here. This is really 100 is just 1 power of 10 more than 10. It's 10 times 10. And so 10, if we skip counted by 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then 100. And that does equal 100. So we can tell that 10 goes into 100 10 times. That makes it really easy. It's a power of 10. It's easy to work with. So what we do with one side, we have to do to the other. So now we have to plug in 10 for here. 10, 20, 30. So you're just adding a 0 when it's a power of 10. It's not going to be the same for the exit ticket because this is an example and it's not nice, neat numbers like I'm using now. It's a little bit more complicated, and so you need to be aware of that. But you can follow the same procedure because it's going to be the same. Now, whatever we did to the minivans, we also have to do to the other vehicles. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70. So just again, adding another 0, okay? And then you can see now that that means that 70 are not minivans because they are other types of vehicles, okay? So hopefully those 2 different ways of solving can help you to get this exit ticket 100% correct.